Illinois has many haunted roads, but the one that draws more visitors than any other is the notorious Cuba Road in the city of Barrington, an upscale suburb about 40 miles from Chicago. Cuba Road is a 9-mile stretch that ends in the village of Long Grove, but most of the haunted legends revolve around West Cuba Road in Barrington. West Cuba Road is very dark and secluded at night, and for decades the area has been plagued by stories of bizarre sightings on the road near White Cemetery. From phantom vehicles to ghostly apparitions, the stories surrounding Cuba Road are as diverse as they are chilling. In this video, I delve into the haunted history of Cuba Road in Barrington and explore the legends and lore that have made it one of the most infamous roads in Illinois. I also explore White Cemetery and the strange sightings that continue to captivate believers and skeptics alike. It's unclear exactly when the haunted legends of Cuba Road and White Cemetery began, but many of the stories date back to at least the 1960s. One of the oldest legends is the phantom car that allegedly appears on West Cuba Road near the cemetery's entrance. Drivers traveling on the road at night have reported being closely followed by a black car that suddenly appears behind them and then vanishes soon after. These encounters are said to occur while driving in either direction near the cemetery. The description of the mysterious vehicle varies, but drivers claim to have been tailed and in some cases almost run off the road by a sedan or a black muscle car that disappears during the encounter. Some people believe Cuba Road's history of fatal auto accidents could have caused a residual haunting, but others believe the sightings are nothing more than reckless drivers tailgating vehicles and then quickly turning off the road as a prank. Another possibility points to a lesser-known legend of a fatal car crash that allegedly took place on Flint Creek Drive, a narrow road that meanders through a wooded area near Cuba Road and Route 14. The legend says that in the 1970s, 4 teenagers in a black 1960s GTO were traveling northbound on the narrow road when flashing headlights from an approaching vehicle appeared. Instead of pulling onto the shoulder of the narrow road to let the car pass, the driver decided to play chicken with the vehicle. The driver slammed on the gas pedal and sped towards the vehicle, but in the final moments, the GTO swerved off the road and plunged into Flint Creek, killing everyone in the car during the crash. It is unknown whether or not the fatal crash is real or just an urban legend, but some of the vanishing vehicle sightings on West Cuba Road fit the same description as the black muscle car in Flint Creek Drive. Another possibility worth mentioning is Cuba Road's connection with notorious gangster Babyface Nelson and the deadly shootout that took place less than 2 miles away. On November 27, 1934, Dillinger gang member Babyface Nelson and 2 others were traveling southbound on Route 14 when Nelson was spotted by federal agents traveling in the opposite direction. A fierce gun battle ensued from the Fox River Grove area all the way into Barrington and ended at the entrance of Northside Park of what is now Langendorf Park. In the end, 2 federal agents lost their lives during the pursuit, and Nelson was shot multiple times. He managed to flee the scene after the shootout, but later died from his wounds at a safe house in Wilmette. A plaque at Langendorf Park commemorates the 2 agents who lost their lives during the historic event. It should also be noted that Babyface Nelson and John Dillinger allegedly rented out a home on Cuba Road less than 1 mile east of Route 59. In an interview with the Northwest Herald, the property owner claims a secret tunnel under the house was once part of the Underground Railroad and later a hiding place for Dillinger gang members. The hidden tunnel once extended from the house all the way into the woods out back, but in the 1930s it was sealed off and collapsed by the FBI. A link to the article about the tunnel can be found in the video description below. It has also been said that Nelson was traveling from the safe house on Cuba Road to Route 14 moments before the gun battle, but these claims are likely untrue since most accounts indicate the car chase began closer to Fox River Grove. It is possible that Nelson's getaway car traveled down Cuba Road after the shootout, but the exact escape route is unknown. It's unclear whether or not Cuba Road's gangster connection has anything to do with the strange sightings on the road, but the historical significance is interesting nonetheless. Another weird legend surrounding Cuba Road is the Vanishing House near Route 59. Some late-night drivers claim to have seen a farmhouse in the distance near the road, but as they drive closer to it, the house fades away like a mirage. The house is believed to be a home that once stood between the cemetery and Route 59, but was destroyed by a fire a long time ago. This historic map of Cuba Township from 1907 shows that a building did, in fact, once stand near the road just west of Route 59, not far from the cemetery. It is unknown if anyone lost their lives in the house fire, but some drivers have reported seeing the ghost of a woman near the vanishing home holding a lantern. When drivers turn around and drive back to the house, both the house and the woman with the lantern are gone. The main attraction along West Cuba Road in Barrington is the haunted White Cemetery, an old burial site with graves dating back to the early 1840s. The 2-acre cemetery is the final resting place for many veterans and some of Cuba Township's first settlers, including the Pomeroys and the White family, for which the cemetery is named after. Some of the older headstones from the earliest burials were destroyed by vandals many years ago or have fallen apart from age, but many are still intact. The cemetery also includes a few interesting monuments and recent burials, but most of the graves are over 100 years old. White Cemetery was badly vandalized from the 1960s into the early 2000s, but that ended when the city installed security cameras at the gates. The cemetery is also frequently patrolled by law enforcement at night, especially on Halloween. White Cemetery in Barrington has a long history of paranormal activity, and before the security cameras were installed, many people exploring the grounds at night reported seeing white glowing orbs hovering over the headstones. The glowing orbs have been witnessed by multiple people, including ghost hunters and drivers traveling past the cemetery at night. The glowing orbs have also been seen hovering over the gates of the cemetery into Cuba Road. However, some locals believe the glowing orbs drivers have seen at night could actually be solar-powered lights on some of the graves. The haunted legends of White Cemetery and Cuba Road are often met with a mix of skepticism and fascination by locals and paranormal enthusiasts. Some people are convinced the area is haunted, while others believe the stories are nothing more than urban legends that have been cemented into the road's history. But if the stories are real, what could have caused the haunting? Cuba Road and White Cemetery both date back to the mid-1800s, and before that, the area was inhabited by Native Americans who had many burial sites throughout the county. It is possible that burial sites were disturbed during the housing developments along Cuba Road. Another possibility is an unknown death that occurred in a home along the road a long time ago, or perhaps one or more fatal auto accidents are to blame. Some believe the desecration of the headstones might also explain the strange sightings on the road and inside the cemetery itself. Some of the ghost stories and legends surrounding Cuba Road are often confused with the former haunted mansion that once stood on Rainbow Road only minutes away. I made an entire video all about the tragic history of the creepy abandoned house that once stood at 92 Rainbow Road, which includes a scary story from when I visited the property at night in the early 2000s before it was torn down. I've included a link for that video in the description box below. What are your thoughts on Cuba Road in Barrington, Illinois? Do you think the stories are real or just urban legends that have taken on a life of their own? Have you witnessed the vanishing car on Cuba Road or the glowing white orbs in White Cemetery? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts.